Back at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis. What a year it was for Michigan, 15-0 national champs. They get it going against Fresno State on August 31st, and then a much-anticipated non-conference battle against Texas on September the 7th. Not an easy schedule by any stretch. USC and Oregon at home. They are on the road against the Buckeyes in the regular season finale. And the man who will be leading them, Sherrone Moore, joins us right now. And Coach, I want to get into this year in just a bit, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk just a little bit about last year, the huge role that you played in winning a national championship with Michigan. When you think back to that incredible run that you guys had, is there a moment that you think best encapsulates it?
Yeah, I think probably the Friday before the Penn State game, landing, hitting the runway, figuring out coach isn't going to be there, and then watching our team just talk to each other and love each other and understand like how close we are as a team and how special that was. You don't get that a lot. You know, we figured out how close we were as a team, and then it's not just about one man, and even Coach said it, and that's why I love that man to death of his attitude towards players first, and our players really encapsulated like what Michigan is all about, team first and individual second.
I do think it's really interesting the spot you're in, taking over for Coach Harbaugh. I mean, we talk a lot at Media Days through the years. Coach Harbaugh was a guy who was very much a focal point, maybe the focal point of conversation at Big Ten Media Days, year in and year out. And I think it's an interesting balancing act, right, between wanting to keep some continuity of what he did. I mean, you mentioned in your podium speech an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, right?
Yeah.
That is a Jack Harbaughism, but
That's
Jim
right.
adopted it and you used it, but also putting your stamp on the program. So give me a sense of what you have done to make this your program while still respecting everything that's been done here in the recent history.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is to not change things that have worked. The process in which we do things, how we attack our workouts, our practices, that's not going to change. If not, we're going to ramp it up even more. We're going to find ways to get better and better. But, I mean, little things like I like music, play music at practice. Different things that we do off the field. You know, we have different dining stuff now because of Abigail O'Connor, our elite dietitian. And the staff has grown in recruiting a little bit. So different things, different focuses that we've tried to change. But the core and the principles of who we are as a Michigan football team are not going to change.
Coach, I don't know that anyone's ever done what you were doing in certain parts of the season. You were offensive line coach. You were the play caller, which is the most difficult job in all of college football, and you were the acting head coach. You've given up the play calling, I believe. Mm-hmm. How have you managed your days now as a first-time head coach? What's your day like, especially as you look forward to game week?
Yeah, for me, it's making sure every schedule, every T is crossed, every I is dotted on the schedule, making sure every detail, everything that we need to get done from an execution standpoint is on point, making sure in recruiting everything is getting done on a daily basis that we need to get done. But number one and overall is probably making sure every single player on the team is in a great mental, physical, and emotional space because that's what we need to be successful.
What do you have to do on defense? Do you have to learn the defense? Do you want to learn the defense? How are you going to do that?
The good thing is defense a lot. It's a lot of what we've done, so
right.
I know a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Wink has already started bringing a couple different wrinkles that'll change, that he can help to attack other offenses, which I'm really, really excited about. But our defense is going to be who we are, and we're going to play to our players' strengths and continue to do that.
Coach, I won't ask you to name the starting quarterback. I know you.
Oh yeah,
we always start there.
That's right.
But Orji has a different skill set than Tuttle or Davis Warren. Kate McNamara and J.J. McCarthy both had their own unique skill sets. And I'm curious, what you prioritize when you're evaluating this battle. Is it, leadership? Is it their ball security? Is it their football IQ? And then the second part of that is, do you anticipate the offense to change at all depending on who does win that job?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is someone that's going to take care of the football. You look at the turnover margin in college football every year, and if you're high, if you're turning over the ball a lot, you're not going to win a lot of games. So I think that's the number one thing. Next, are you a playmaker, whether it's throwing it, running it, or a combination of both? And then are you a team-first guy? So are you going to do everything in your power, requested by Kirk Campbell and me in the offense to help our team win? So those are really the biggest things for me.
What's your style going to be as a recruiter, as a head coach, and is it modeled after any head coaches that you've been around?
Yeah, I mean, relentless, aggressive. Try to be on the phone with kids every single day. Try to build a relationship with every person in the class, and continue to do that and sustain that so that we can build the right classes and bring in the right type of kids.
Coach, I look at being a good offensive line coach. You got 15 individuals in your room, and on any Saturday you might have 5 to 7 individuals. But the good offensive line coaches take those individuals and they play as one aligned unit. It's kind of a microcosm of a good head coach.
Yeah.
Is that a fair thing to say? Do you draw on some of your experience in taking a big room and getting them all going in the same direction?
Yeah, I think as the tight end coach, as the O-line coach, as the coordinator, I tried to be the head coach of that position every single time I was doing it and make sure I was prepared for anything and everything that would happen and make sure we do it at utmost detail. But really, I'd like to give the credit to our players. Every day is a joy to be around our players, and last year was no different. The Trevor Keegans, the Zach Zinners, Carson Barnharts, Ladarius Henderson, Drake Nugent, Trente Jones, and all the guys that are there now, they provided me with an avenue to have a phenomenal day every single day, and they really taught me a lot too.
I want to ask you about offensive line as well, but I want to ask you from a personnel standpoint. You guys lost all 5 starters from that group last year, and I think when we think about how Michigan went to the level that it went to here in the past few years, I think one of the big things has been just how great the offensive line play, and of course that has been a huge credit to you. Tell me about the decision to move Grant Newsome over and how you feel about this entirely new batch of starters.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Newsome is an elite coach, elite person, and anybody that knows him knows that he's groomed to be a head coach at some point in the future. So that was a very easy decision for me, and he's probably one of the youngest coaches in college football. So for me, he's a guy that, I was the tight end coach, he was the student assistant. I was the O-line coach, he was a GA. I was the coordinator, he was the tight end coach, and now I'm the head coach, he's the O-line coach. So he's done a phenomenal job of coaching the players that he's had to coach, and watching him mold the kids that he had to mold was a huge part of me making the decision to bring him on. As far as the guys that are there, they're chomping at the bit. They've had a great summer. They've really bonded together, and they saw what it looked like the past couple of years of what it should look like when you're a really good offensive line. So, the jersey on the front is the same. The nameplates are just going to change on the back.
It's interesting to me in looking at the way that you built your staff, because there are some internal promotions. Grant Newsome would be one. Kirk Campbell would be another one. You went outside of the staff to find a defensive coordinator. You were talking about Coach Wink Martindale a little while ago. Why did you choose to go outside, and then what was it about him and particularly his NFL experience that appealed to you?
I mean, the coolest thing about him is our past two defensive coordinators coached underneath Coach Martindale.
Right.
And to be with the OG of our defense, I couldn't ask for a better guy to lead our defense. So that was really the main decision. I've heard so many good things and did a lot of research and brought him in for 2 days and talked to him about football, about life, about his goals, about what he wants, and he just seemed like a perfect fit.
What's the biggest surprise you've had as the head coach in Michigan?
I mean, there's a lot less football. You take a lot more pictures. But besides that, they're just, you get less. I used to spend my days in a room with 2 big screens and a laptop, and it was football constantly. And you have to deal with so many other things as the head coach. You're dealing with the alignment of an organization constantly. So my job is just to continue to make sure we stay aligned.
You talked a little bit about your full-time play caller now, Coach Campbell, and what I heard was he really helped JJ in his development. Yeah. Obviously, JJ is extremely talented, but his pre-snap operations, understanding the playbook, understanding checks, becoming a student of the game. So it sounds like he's a great teacher. What are you most excited to see from him this fall?
I mean, I think the coolest story about Coach Campbell is we win the national title. It was a party, right? You win a national title, it's a party. You get home, and we land, and I go in the office to get something, and Kirk Campbell is watching the game, yelling at the screen about a route death. I'm like, bro, if you don't go home right now, we just won the Natty, and you're over here watching film. So that just encapsulated what I want in my offensive coordinator and the detail that he goes through and what I think the offense is going to be. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be exciting. I think he's going to use the best players in the best places.
Do you have any feel yet for the run-pass ratio compared to last year?
No, I don't. I think we'll be balanced. We try to be as balanced as possible. We don't want anybody to have a predicted tendency on us. Can't predict that we're going to run it 32 times in a game, but you never know. You don't know what the weather's going to be. Right. You don't know what's going to go on. So our job is just to try to win.
the schedule this year, a big jump up. I mean, you got that early out-of-conference game against Texas. There's just much more challenges this year, and you're already replacing a ton of talent to the NFL. What changes for you? You know, what do you have to do in terms of a roster management standpoint to make it through this season fully healthy and at your full potential?
Yeah, I think for us, we look at it as a great opportunity to face some great competition and great players and great teams, great coaches, and different venues. Got 8 home games, which is fortunate for us. But for us, it's really training camp is going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But we got to make sure in the right times and the right places we turn it up and then turn it down. Turn it up and turn it down. And make sure there's a balance of how we're preparing our players physically and mentally to be ready for the season.
Sherrone Moore, can't wait to get to camp, see what all this looks like. As always, really appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Go Blue.